Today, we're going to look at God's call to his prophet Jeremiah. And I'm going to follow the same outline as with Moses and Isaiah, setting in time, setting in place, the assignment God gives to his prophet, the prophet's response, followed by several takeaways. Setting in time with God calling Jeremiah, the year is 627, 112 years after God called Isaiah. Interesting with Jeremiah, the call seems to extend to the 40 years during which the prophet gave God's message to his disobedient people. We could almost say that God called him every time God wanted him to speak. Interestingly, God mentions that he knew in eternity past that Jeremiah would have the right stuff to be his prophet at this critical time. And that includes Jeremiah's ability to argue with God. And at that time, God consecrated him and made him a prophet to the nations, one of which was Judah. Setting in place. When God went down to call Moses from Sinai, he called Isaiah up to heaven, but Jeremiah's call lacks any reference to a place at all, although we may assume that it was in his hometown of Anatot, which was located near Jerusalem, as Jeremiah was from a priestly family. So what then does God ask Jeremiah to do? We're going to see there's going to be several rounds of back and forth here with the call and the response. So round number one. God puts his words in Jeremiah's mouth by touching it with his hand. This is slightly different from the seraphs cleansing Isaiah's mouth to enable him to serve. Specifically, this is what God directed Jeremiah to do, was to pluck up, break down, destroy, and overthrow kingdoms. And only once he had done that could he build them and plant them. Thus, Jeremiah's assignment includes 4 negatives, followed by 2 positives, which of course foretells a very hard ministry. How does Jeremiah respond to that call? As with Moses and Isaiah, Jeremiah does not believe that he's qualified to deliver God's message. He claims, I'm too young. I don't know how to speak. God responds, don't worry. I will tell you where to go and what to say. Jeremiah counters, I'm afraid of them. God responds, don't worry, I will deliver you from them. Assignment from God, round 2. God says, Jeremiah, because my people have forsaken me to worship other gods, I am sending the kingdoms of the north against them. You go tell them that. Jeremiah responds, I'm afraid of them. God responds as before, do not fear them. But then God adds a threat. If you are afraid and you want to bail out on me, I will cause them to frighten you even more. God continues, they will scare you, but they will not overcome you, for I will deliver you. Interestingly, sometimes that deliverance found Jeremiah safe from harm, but in the depths of a prison. Some takeaways from the call of Jeremiah. More than any other prophet, except Jesus, Jeremiah lived his life between an angry but merciful God and a disobedient people. Number 2, trusting God in spite of circumstances may be the hardest task God calls his people to manage. Number 3, God is always faithful to his own, though sometimes he puts them through severe trials. Tomorrow, on to Ezekiel.